Hello everyone, this is Renault, and this is going to be a continuation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Invasion of the Triceratons Part 3. And the previous two issues, and also the King Zertan of Planet Neutrino made misleading statements to the Triceratons, saying that Earth was the homeworld. That's not necessarily true. The Triceratons came to Earth and were immediately ambushed by Agent Bishop. And so, after that point, after an initial ambush and the Triceratons being caught off guard, the Triceratons moved down into the sewers. Agent Bishop made arrangements to secure more resources, and Master Splinter decided that he would mobilize the warring clans against the Triceratons because New York belongs to the Foot Clan. And the Foot Clan has a lot of pull with the other clans. And so, in this issue, we pick off from that point where the Triceratons had just invaded the Earth more officially and had mobilized many of their forces in preparation for the all-out war. Now, with that being said, let's get started with our typical hellos. Hello, Joker. Hello, Plastic Plants. And hello, Ibuprofen. There's another Hot Chocolate. Hello, Hot Chocolate. And that's a thing I hardly ever use. But anyway, let's get started. So, previously, like I mentioned, Agent Bishop had went off to secure more resources. And right away, there's a real problem with this because Agent Bishop is meeting with a senator. Senator Lawson. But the problem with this is, for an Earth Protection Force with military and paramilitary behaviors, that is something that's going to be handled by the executive branch. The executive branch would, first and foremost, have that under its control. It's not something that a senator, regardless of how influential, a senator is not going to have their own private paramilitary force, especially not operating in broad daylight in the streets. It's just not going to be a thing. It's something by the executive branch. Another thing I wanted to touch upon is the art. I have had no problems with the art at all for that issue 0, issue 1, issue 2, or even this issue. Well, I actually do have a couple of minor problems with this issue, but they're minor. The point is, when I was doing the Alterna reviews, I had some critiques for the art, both good and bad. But this art for this series is above average competent. It's like, it's not going to say, oh wow, that's really great. But it's also not so bad that it's like, I really need to comment on this art. I cannot let this slide. Because generally the colors are competent. The above average for the most part. It's not so much that it takes away. Everything makes sense, the layouts, etc., etc. And I just wanted to touch upon that. So in this issue, we have the Agent Bishop meeting with a senator to secure resources and permission to use an extrajudicial paramilitary force against aliens. It's just not going to be a thing. It's not a thing at all. But he does get his... he does get what he wants because... it's being recorded in the news, and people are using their smartphones to record everything. So, Agent Bishop gets the resources he needs. Agent Bishop is not really going to be a major player in this issue, like he was in previous issues. Let's skip a couple of pages. And so, like I said earlier, the Triceratons have been invading Earth. They're trying to do some reconnaissance and some forward forces. These two Triceratons are landing in an abandoned basketball park. These are very common in Chicago and New York, where just right in the middle of the city, you'll see just this basketball court. And so there's this homeless guy. He's going to be the center of attention and the start of an altercation. I also want to point out that April O'Neil's father it was like a biochemist at TCRI. He has a close relationship with Baxter Stockman. And April O'Neil's mother was an ex-journalist And so they're going to be able to look outside and witness pretty much the entire altercation that the Triceratons will have with this homeless guy here. But there's also going to be another altercation with the Triceratons are declaring this basketball court the start of official Triceraton territory. And so, Triceraton territory, that's funny. Last I heard, this hood belonged to the Purple Dragons. Now, we'd ask you politely to leave. Except when it comes to trespassers, polite ain't exactly our thing. Now, so the Purple Dragons and these two Triceratons are going to get into a big fight. They're taking away this homeless guy. You can see that there's blood. It's not bloodless carnage. People do get hurt. Seriously injured. But I do have a couple of problems here. The Triceratons in this battle with the Purple Dragons are not portrayed as this powerful force. If you look at these opening fire, they're not like shooting at the bulk of the crowd. And when someone does get hit, it's not major damage. And a lot of the shots are missing. These Triceratons do not come across as an elite paramilitary force. They come off as just kind of pew 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 playing at war. So in this battle with the Purple Dragons, if you really wanted to up the seriousness, they could have had Casey Jones getting seriously injured instead of this guy who's it is merely a flesh wound. Because and also the Triceratons is, maybe it's just me, but previous issues had the Triceratons significantly larger than the humans. And if you look carefully, I assume that this Triceraton here that's getting this crowd beat up down on them is dead. But that's not actually going to be the case. But it's like, this Triceraton should be dead. He's getting beat down by an entire mob of goons. Anyway, let's skip a couple more pages. Because this... And so, the Triceratons also do not fight as if they're fighting a group. You see this Triceraton, he's trying to take on Casey Jones' dad, who's Hun. And he's trying to do one-on-one combat. But, boom, of course, they're just not going to have that happen. Son. Pop. But I do want to point out that this is still a good little series here. Because it acknowledges that Hun is the father of Casey Jones, and back and forth, yada yada yada. But again, the Triceratons just don't come off as this formidable fighting force. The Triceratons get the shit beat out of them. So, you know, he swing and a miss. Getting hit in the stomach with a bat. Getting knocked the fuck out by Hun. Bashed over the head with a bat again. He's knocked out. And, of course, during the kerfuffle, April O'Neil's mom is recording everything and uploading it to YouTube. You can see that the Triceraton is getting tied up and chained up. Again, the Triceratons don't come across as the formidable force. And I also have a problem with the coloring job. I understand that in action scenes, this kind of thing with where you don't necessarily draw the backgrounds because that might interfere with the fighting. But it just doesn't come across very well to me. And also, whenever there is carnage, any sort of carnage, it's mostly the Triceratons who are getting really brutalized. Whereas the humans are mostly just getting flesh wounds, you know? You saw that earlier with the Triceratons opening fire into a crowd of people. Most of the shots missed. And then the one guy who did get hit was, oh, it is only a flesh wound. Whereas this is now the third time, because they're third or fourth time actually, where a Triceraton is really severely showing some severe damage here. And that's not really happening on the human side, so... And again, let me just skip a couple more pages. And the other thing I wanted to touch upon, because this kind of had three different storylines going on. The Agent Bishop meeting with the Senator, the Triceratons meeting with the crowd, and then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meeting with Master Splinter. Now, when it comes to Master Splinter, he's saying that, look, I'm going to use my resources to handle this threat, and he's ordering the Ninja Turtles that they're not going to get involved, or Clan Hamato, because the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have retained the Clan Hamato name, whereas Hamato Yoshi, Master Splinter, has taken over the Foot Clan. And so Master Splinter is now lecturing the Ninja Turtles that the Ninja Turtles do not understand war. The Ninja Turtles do not understand the risk and sacrifices involved in war. And so he's ordering Hamato Yoshi, the Hamato clan, the Ninja Turtles, to stay put and not to get involved. But this whole thing doesn't really fly in multiple ways. This doesn't make any sense because, one, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have had previous altercations with Master Splinter, and so they've disassociated themselves with Master Splinter. So even though he's their father and they love him, and he obviously loves them as well, but they're their own thing. And two, the Foot Clan does not have dominion over the Hamato clan. Think about that. It would be like saying Pepsi having dominion over Coke, just because the president of Pepsi may have worked as an executive under Coke. Well, yeah, but, that president of Pepsi may have a lot of affiliations and connections with Coke, but that president of Pepsi is the president of Pepsi. They're separate, So this whole Foot Clan trying to order the Ninja Turtles on what to do doesn't make any sense. And then the panel ends with Jenica, Master Splinter's personal assistant, or Chunin, making a report, letting Master Splinter know that our ally has secured the resources they need. So this is Agent Bishop's extrajudicial paramilitary force that operates under broad daylight, but is not under the powers of the executive. It's under the powers of some senator, which makes absolutely no sense. Now, if you know how this would make sense, is if Agent Bishop was meeting with the governor of New York, and so the governor of New York was taking the reserves, the national reserves, because the reserves are under the command National Guard. And these were the National Guard, that would make sense. Or the Earth Protection Division of the National Guard before the president takes control over it. But again, it makes absolutely no sense for a senator to have access to this paramilitary extrajudicial force outside of the executive branch. And it really, this is the weakest story so far. It's also the middle of the story, dead center, number 3 out of 5. So, ooh boy. Still, I mentioned that it's competently written despite all that. Again, I have to be careful with my page skipping because I did want to make sure I emphasize special points. Whereas if this was a Marvel or DC book, it would be like pages and pages of people sitting and talking and eating, where nothing's really happening. Everything is happening, so it's still an above average book, at least by comparison to Marvel and DC. But it's not living up to the standards established by number 75, 76, and 77. Anyway, hit that like button. Fuck COPA. That's to ensure that this video does not comply with the child safety standards. And again, fuck COPA. Fuck YouTube. And yeah, thank you so much. Hit that like button, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.